It's 2:07 a.m. You're scrolling, and suddenly you feel a clean, sharp certainty. I need to fix my whole life. New routine, new body, new job, new city. You start making plans with a confidence you didn't have all day. It feels like clarity, but it's a specific kind of clarity, the kind that arrives when your brain is tired enough to stop arguing with itself. This 2 a.m. makeover happens because your brain changes modes at night. During the day, you're in execution mode. You handle tasks, conversations, and small decisions. At night, the outside world gets quiet, and your brain moves into evaluation mode. It starts reviewing what went wrong, what's missing, what's unsafe, what's embarrassing, what you should do differently. That review can be useful, but at 2 a.m. it becomes extreme. A big reason is the default mode network, the system that kicks in when you're not focused on a task. It's the background processor that connects memories, worries, and identity stories. In daylight, it gets interrupted. At 2 a.m., it gets the whole stage, so it starts stitching your day into one big verdict about your life. Here's the first twist. The urge to overhaul your life is often a stress signal, not a growth signal. The brain hates open loops. If your day had unfinished tasks, unresolved emotions, or vague uncertainty, your mind looks for a fast way to close the feeling. Big plans create instant relief. They create a story where you're in control. And control feels amazing when you're exhausted. Now add sleep pressure. When you're sleep deprived, your prefrontal cortex, the part that does careful planning, long-term thinking, and impulse control, runs less efficiently. Meanwhile, your emotional and threat systems stay active. That combination produces a weird result. You feel more urgent and less precise. You don't think, I should improve one habit. You think, everything must change. So the plan feels bold, but it's built on a tired brain's shortcuts. It simplifies your life into one big problem with one big solution. That's comforting. Real life is messy. New life by Monday is simple. Hold on to that, because the next part explains why the plan feels so convincing in the moment and why it often disappears by lunch the next day. The next ingredient is dopamine, but not in the motivational poster way. Dopamine is a prediction chemical. It rises when your brain expects a reward, especially when that reward feels like a fresh start. At 2 a.m., the future looks clean because it hasn't happened yet. Your brain can imagine a perfect version of tomorrow with no friction, no awkward conversations, no delays, no bad moods. That imagined future triggers a dopamine lift, and the lift feels like truth. This is sometimes called the fresh start effect. Your brain loves the idea of a clean slate. The weird part is that tomorrow can feel like a new identity, even though it's the same you with the same limits. At 2 a.m., the limits are blurry, so the fantasy feels realistic. Second twist, you're not chasing change, you're chasing relief from the present. The relief comes from imagining a world where you don't have the current problems, not from doing the work to solve them. That's why the urge hits hardest when you feel stuck, ashamed, overwhelmed, or bored. Your brain reaches for an escape hatch. There's also a cognitive trick called temporal distance. The further away a plan is, the easier it feels. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. forever is easy at 2 a.m. because it's not happening now. Your brain is planning with a version of you that has unlimited energy. Tomorrow you is a superhero. Present you is running on low battery. This is why late-night plans tend to be extreme. Extremes are efficient fantasies. They don't require negotiation. I'll quit sugar, quit social media, run daily, meditate, and learn a language is one dramatic decision instead of 10 small, realistic ones. Your brain prefers one big switch because it reduces uncertainty. Now add the comparison factor. Late at night, people often consume highlights, perfect bodies, perfect routines, perfect careers. That content quietly sets a new baseline. Your brain compares your real day to someone else's edited life, and the gap feels like an emergency. So you don't want improvement, you want a reset. Mid-twist. The real target is often identity, not behavior. At night, you don't just want better habits, you want to feel like a different person. If you've been carrying self-doubt, your brain tries to solve it with reinvention. It tells you, become someone else and the feeling will stop. That's why the plan feels emotional, not practical. But identity-driven change has a trap. If you miss one day, it feels like you failed as a person, not as a planner. That's how the 2 a.m. reset becomes a cycle of hype and collapse. Another detail, circadian timing lowers patience and boosts rumination. If caffeine or screens delay sleep, your brain stays alert, so the urge feels stronger. So why does your brain choose 2 a.m. for this? Because night removes feedback. In daylight, reality pushes back. Meetings happen. People respond. Money, time, and energy set limits. At 2 a.m., you can imagine without consequences. Your brain mistakes imagination for strategy. Ending twist. The 2 a.m. clarity is often your brain trying to protect you from discomfort, not guide you toward growth. It's a form of avoidance that looks productive. If you focus on a giant future plan, you don't have to feel today's anxiety, loneliness, or uncertainty. Planning becomes emotional anesthesia. This is also state-dependent thinking. Your brain believes ideas that match your current state. At 2 a.m., you're more negative, more urgent, and more sensitive. In the morning, with food, light, and sleep, you literally evaluate the same idea differently. That's why the plan can feel brilliant at night and silly later. It's the same plan, different brain. That doesn't mean the ideas are useless. Some of your best insights can appear at night. The key is separating signal from noise. A simple rule helps. Capture, don't commit. Write the plan down, but don't act on it until daylight. In the morning, ask 3 questions. What problem was I trying to escape? What is the smallest step that would help today? What would I still choose if I had to start at 20% effort? If the plan survives those questions, it's real. If it collapses, it was a relief fantasy. Also notice patterns. If the urge to change your whole life shows up after certain triggers, social comparison, conflict, procrastination, or late scrolling, then the real fix is upstream. Your brain is reacting to input. Change the input and the urge fades. One more twist. The desire to reinvent can be a sign you're overloaded, not unmotivated. When life feels chaotic, your brain tries to restore order with a reset. That's healthy in theory, but healthy resets are specific. They don't require a new personality. They require one stable anchor. Try this. Pick one anchor for the next 24 hours, not the next year. One walk, one tidy surface, one page, one meal, one message you've been avoiding. Anchors are small on purpose because they create evidence. Evidence beats motivation. When your brain sees proof, it calms down and stops demanding a total reset. So if it's 2 a.m. and you feel the urge to rebuild everything, treat it like a weather report. Interesting, informative, not a command. Save the notes, sleep, then choose one action that proves control without requiring perfection. That is how you turn late-night urgency into real change. And that's the pattern.